Chapter 10. Ratchet swept through his medbay and was at Sam's side in only a brief moment. Concern wrinkled his face. It was strange, given he was made of metal. At the same time, it was comforting, something familiar amongst all the stress. It made Sam feel just a little bit better about everything and reassured her that she was doing the right thing. "What is it? Did something happen?" Ratchet gently set his hands on Sam's shoulders. "Did the twins do something?" A threat gleamed in his eyes. It made Sam feel good. Ratchet was a good man, and she had no doubts he would look after her. He was someone she could safely confide in, and something told Sam that if the twins had done anything to her, there would have been hell to pay. No, they didn't. I'm okay, really," Sam reassured him, giving him a small smile. "All right." Ratchet cleared his throat, dropping his hands from Sam's shoulders. "What do you want to talk about?" "It's something really important," she hedged slowly. "You might want to sit down for this." "Okay." Ratchet hesitantly lowered himself down into a nearby med berth, watching her curiously. Sam tried her best not to lose her confidence. She wished she had some liquid courage right now. Then, Sam began to recount the events that had led up to this point, starting at the very beginning with her cousins, and that damned electrical tower. Ratchet's face never changed, though his optics kept resizing as if examining her for the truth of her claims. Throughout the entire story, he didn't say a word, listening with full intensity. With such intensity, Sam thought she might lose her cool and shut down, maybe even panic. That didn't happen, though. It was like the floodgates had been opened, and once she started, she couldn't stop. So much had happened, a lot of it rather traumatic, and she couldn't take being the only one to know anymore. It was starting to set in that Sam would probably never get to go home, that her human body was fried to a crisp and dead. It was too much, and it flowed out in her story, pain cracking at her words. If Sam could cry, she had no doubt she would have been sobbing at some points, if not through the whole thing. Then, before Sam knew it, she had told the entire truth. Silence reigned for several moments. It was nerve-wracking. Ratchet was damn near stoic. She couldn't get a read on him at all. What was going on in his head? Probably that she was crazy, no doubt. Sam didn't think she'd believe herself in his shoes. What was more, he'd only known her for a few days. She had no credibility to stand on. Suddenly, Sam felt like she had made some horrible mistake. Maybe she had been too emotional, too desperate. Now, she had misstepped. "Have you told anyone else about this?" Ratchet's words were abrupt but even, a calmness about him that helped to steady the chaotic fear inside Sam. "No, just you," she affirmed nervously. Why was he asking that? "Don't tell anyone else, okay? For your own safety." Ratchet stood up slowly, frowning. "I'm going to do some research." "You believe me?" Disbelief coated Sam's voice. "You don't seem like you're lying. Besides, that would explain a few things." Ratchet grunted, putting a curled finger to his lips. "Like your unique physiology." "What?" Sam's head swam. What was he talking about? She didn't understand. "Just don't tell anyone else. We'll figure this out." Ratchet reached out and squeezed her shoulder, attempting to soothe her. It worked. The tightness in her chest unraveled, and Sam found herself able to breathe a little easier. No, she had just panicked. Ratchet was a good man, an ally, something Sam was short on and needed desperately in this strange new world. She would definitely be crying right now if she could. Gratitude swelled within her. "For now, get some sleep, okay?" Ratchet pulled back. "I'm going to see what I can do on my end, look into some stuff, that kind of thing." Sam barely managed a small nod as she felt herself falling back onto the med berth. It was like a large weight had been lifted up off of her shoulders, and now she was too tired to continue. Exhaustion clawed at her mental state. "Oh, and Sam?" Ratchet had been moving to exit the room, but he stopped just short and looked back at her. "Yeah?" Her own voice sounded small and weak to herself. The twins did a good job. You look good." It was a gruff, but genuine compliment. "Recharge well." Ratchet shut the light off and exited the medbay. A fluster overtook Sam's face in the dark. It was a while before she fell asleep. She finally drifted off after Blue Streak came toddling over and scaling up on top of her from one of the other berths. Sam brought her arms up and tucked him against her. She had only had Blue Streak for a very short time, but already she felt like she needed him to go to sleep. Like a teddy bear. At any other time, Sam might have been embarrassed, but right now she couldn't bring herself to care in the slightest. Morning came far before Sam was ready. First was Ratchet gently shaking her shoulder and murmuring something about a light coming on. She barely had time to throw an arm up over her eyes before the medbay lights came online, in all their ear-piercing glory. Lovely. Then Blue Streak was wiggling down off of her with a giggle, saying something about Bumblebee. Sam could only groan in response. Great, she had lost her teddy bear. What next? Happiness itself became a disease and wiped them all out? Sam lay there still for several moments before deciding that there was no way she was going to be able to go back to sleep. I'm up. The mumble was less than happy as she slowly sat up, blinking and trying to get her optics to work. They fuzzed with white static before slowly focusing. It reminded her a lot of the camera on her phone back on Earth. The way she would open up the camera app and it would take several seconds to focus on what she wanted to take a picture of. Everything was always so blurry to start with. Once her vision cleared, however, it took Sam several further seconds to realize what she was looking at. Sideswipe and Sunstreaker were stuck together. At the ass. The first question that came to Sam's mind was how. Then there was the following question of why. Slowly she turned to the side, letting her legs dangle off the side of the berth. Ratchet was hissing under his breath at them, too quiet for her to hear. It was almost hypnotic, watching him wedge a crowbar-like tool in between their asses. The twins kept their voices equally as quiet and sounded like they were complaining, arguing, and making pain noises. Though, when Ratchet began yanking on it and putting his full body weight into it, Sideswipe couldn't contain a shriek and Sunstreaker yelped. I told you both to keep quiet! Ratchet snapped, a little louder but still quieter than the twins. Yeah, that was before you started the torture! Sideswipe screeched. Sam! Sam, help! He's gone mad! Sam is recharging. Now shut up! Ratchet made a motion like he was going to gag the red twin. No, she's not. Sunstreaker bared his gray, gear-like teeth at the doctor. Ratchet stopped and looked over his shoulder at Sam, making eye contact with her. Sam couldn't bring herself to stop staring. I'm sorry, my dear. We didn't mean to wake you. Ratchet apologized, his tone more gentle suddenly. I don't usually work this early. He shot a pointed glare at the twins at his mercy. It's all right. What happened? Sam slowly got to her feet. Well, we heard from someone that if we pushed enough hot air through our tailpipes, we could spark energon and light it on fire. Sideswipe grinned. But I couldn't get enough to push out, so... The idiot convinced me to help. Sunstreaker growled, staring at the floor and refusing to make eye contact. We, didn't succeed, though. No fire. Just, well... The heat from the energon fumes fused us together. Sideswipe's smile turned sheepish. You're both dumb. Ratchet grunted, looking exhausted. You melted your afts together at an unprecedented hour and then had the gall to wake me up. Sorry, Ratch. Sideswipe's apology cut off into a girly scream as Ratchet went back to roughly attempting to separate them. He was much less gentle now that Sam was awake. Why did you think that it was a good idea to play with our energon reserves? We don't have enough for you to go setting it on fire. Not only that, but you could have hurt yourselves severely. Ratchet seemed like he was building up into an angry rant, now making a stabbing motion with the crowbar-like tool in between them. Hey, we should probably skedaddle. It's about to get a lot worse. Sam jumped and whipped around. It didn't hurt as much as she suspected, luckily. She was healing. As for the voice, Jazz was standing right behind her, arms crossed and looking at Ratchet with far more concern than she had ever seen on his face. Jazz? Sam wasn't sure what she was asking and couldn't seem to find her words. Where had he come from? What was he doing here? Could she even leave? What did he mean by, "it's about to get worse"? Sam must have taken too long just staring at him and fumbling around for what to ask first. Come on, let's get out of here, before the party really starts. Jazz put a hand on her arm and ushered her to the door. Startled, Sam went along with it, following his lead as Ratchet continued to get louder and louder behind them. It sounded like he was going to blow his top and then some. Yep, just keep walking and maybe he won't notice us. Jazz's chipper tone held a note of fear as he made his way out the door, pulling Sam with him. She almost laughed. He was acting like Ratchet was some kind of T-Rex. Thankfully, it seemed like the doctor was too busy chewing the teens out to take notice of their quiet escape. Jazz was leaving as quietly as he came, with cargo in tow. What are we doing? Sam asked once they were outside the med bay and in the hall. Jazz breathed an overdramatic sigh of relief and leaned against the far wall. For one, getting out of the Hatchet site. Jazz shook his head, his grin getting wider. The Hatchet? Sam's brow furrowed. Yeah, you know. Ratchet the Hatchet? He pushed off the wall and waved his hands, gesturing in ways Sam didn't understand. No, I don't know, she shook her head. Huh, I figured the Terror Twins would have told you. Jazz frowned briefly, tilting his head before his wide smile was right back on his face. Terror Twins, Ratchet the Hatchet, Sam mused. It seemed like all three of them were characters in their own right on this base. Sam wouldn't be surprised if everyone here was a little strange or quirky. No, but really, I heard the twins only showed you, like, 2 places on base. Jazz straightened and stretched upwards, palms to the ceiling. Did robots need to stretch? Sam would have to try it later and see if it made her feel better. Yeah, but they painted me, so it's all good. She smiled, remembering how much work they had put into her new paint job. I saw that. They did an awesome job. Jazz winked. It was such a human thing, Sam almost laughed. He narrowed one half of his visor and shut off the light on that side for just a moment. It looked weird, and like it wasn't supposed to do that. Somehow, she managed to keep from laughing, though a small giggle did escape. This only encouraged Jazz in his antics. His walk had a swagger to it as he moved from the wall and closer to her. Come on then, I want to show you the gardens, and the lookout post. Jazz gave a small wave and started making his way down the hall. Sam only hesitated for a moment before she was beside him. The gardens? She looked over and down at his smaller form. Yeah, the gardens. Jazz chuckled. You'll see, but I got a question for you. What's that? Sam felt a sudden wariness come over her. Something told her that when Jazz had a question, it wasn't a good thing. She also felt she already didn't want to answer whatever it was that he wanted to ask. How do you feel about Optimus, huh? Jazz waggled his eyebrows.